that were sharing their like they were sharing their findings, and they got kind of had to go against what the particular time in history where the society was kind of more geared to think about, or to more think that is true. But other like scientists have, through our history, have just gone contrary to what they believe in and try to get more into what is closer to what reality is. And so if statistically, like, if your group believes something and then you go against it, and then it's going to be uh, unhealthy for you, because you'll get ridiculed, you get killed, or you get kicked out of the country. But that's on a different side, on a different note. But yeah, for sure, health is probably acquired. If you could acquire it more from using the methods of science, for sure. Totally agree. But what else stood out to you?
Let's see. Well, like how people talk about people want a better world or whatever, but they still hang on to their possessions. Like the example, it says you've got a car, right? And there are many doctors that in South America they could use that car, but you're not going to send them your car, are you? And so, yeah, we're all hanging on to our possessions because it's our system we live in. We've all been indoctrinated.
Yeah, totally, for sure. I can see that because we're indoctrinated, and it's usually the things that we say are not really related to like what's happening in reality. But hey, what's up, Pajman? How's it going? I saw you started recording.
Yeah, you were preaching, and I was like, hey, I gotta record this.
I want to get away from preaching. It's more like what to say, share my findings.
Yeah, exactly. Hey guys, sorry I'm late. I heard Fabrico. What happened, Fabrico? Every Monday, every Thursday, it's the same. Thursday video.
I asked you the other day what we'll do Thursday, and you said me we will start with the book. I stayed with that.
Then I apologize.
You want to see the recording? You want to see the replay?
I want to see replay. I want to see replay. Me, I don't accept. I don't accept that. Okay. I want to see replay. Okay.
Okay. Let's see the replay. Put the replay.
Okay. I'm gonna put it as homework. But I'm gonna look at the Skype chat, and in the Skype chat I say, let's say here.
No.
New book. You
change afterward.
New book. Yes, I corrected myself.
Yeah. You admitted it. You don't need a replay for that.
Yeah, that reminds me how like lawyers have a job, and how their job is to just win the case. It's not really like to see the truth, so they could manipulate words so they could win. So both of you guys could go into a court of law, and whoever pays them, has the best lawyer, that is probably going to be the one that costs the most, is probably going to win.
Fabrico, he's talking about you, not me. You manipulative.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, like how lawyers and poets like would have a job, when words are could just mean anything, instead of closer approximations of reality. But where's Peter in his notes and his questions?
He was out today. He couldn't make it for some reason. I told him, no, you have to. It's there is no discussion about
private conversation you have with Peter.
Yes, we have like on the side.
All right, nice. Yeah.
I even find an audiobook, in order not to read. I find an audiobook and I listen several times,
Yeah. But this one, Peter told me that this one is not part of the CDs, but I'm not sure about that. I'm gonna double check this one.
It is part of the CD.
It is, right? So I got a little bit confused what he meant by that.
It's
But
not
it
part
is.
of what?
It's part of the, Peter said it's not part of the the audio lectures
classic
that they
lecture.
sell. Yeah, the classic, but it is. It is a part of it. So it just
Maybe not
confused
his
me.
CDs.
Sorry?
No, I was like, maybe not his CDs, but
Yeah,
it's definitely
exactly.
part of the classic
Exactly. He got the budget version.
the broke boy version, yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, Adam, you know how you brought up relativity with the giraffe thing? Nate brought up like a really neat one that he shared with other people. You want to share it?
Yeah, so it's essentially if I'm reading a book and a fly lands on the page, the fly could think that the words are huge, but I could think that the words are small. So it's just a different way of approaching the relativity example with different people. So as opposed to just mimicking what Jock says with the giraffe and the dog and the mouse. So some people seem to have gotten it when I've told them that, like the example that I've used, but yeah, that was pretty much it. But I also do like Adam, what you were saying regarding how people say that they want a better world, but they don't really give up their possessions. And to me, that was kind of one of the essences of the lectures, that people have a preferential way of behaving, and that's due to each culture in human history. In different books that we could find this, right? That each culture has had their own way of reacting to the world, and therefore they have a preferred way of reacting to it or having their populace behave with one another or towards certain other groups. So, for example, the Mongols, from what I've read, they used to sleep towards the south so that when they got up, they got to see the rising sun. They used to praise the sun. And then also the way that they used to construct their yurts, I believe that's how you pronounce it, it would face the south as well because there would be prevailing winds from the north coming. So there's also a cultural way or cultural bias, right, for praising the sun, and also because there was winds for their structures at least. And then you have other people who will say, who are metaphysically inclined to say, well, when we do our chants or what have you, we're going to face the east. And these things are not really based on findings as far as like the praising the sun or do our chants facing the east. They're just based on personal projections on what we feel is right. So that was one of the main things that stuck out to me during the lecture, is that the religious way of reacting to the world seems to be absolute, that this is so and therefore we're trying to perpetuate that, whereas some scientists like Galileo or Pasteur or Dr. Semmelweis, they had to give up what was the accepted norm of their time, or even what they were brought up to believe, put that to the side and say, no, this is the evidence that I found. So now this is going to lead towards new ways of evaluating the reality which we live in. So there's more change there as opposed to staying stagnant with our beliefs. Um, and Jack also states here that the role of a scientist is to provide people with a way of solving their problems. And I think that's one way when he was talking about relativity. If you're brought up to know that different people view things differently because of where they're coming from, then you're less likely to go to war with them. You're less likely to be prejudiced against their behaviors. But when you have that religious training, you do have at least that pressure to go to war with another person, to look at them as the other or as an alien, and not that they're just a human being who was stuck in a different environment. And therefore they view the world differently than we do. It's such a hard thing for us to understand. At least I'm still overcoming that with some people, right? Or like some aspects of my life, like yes, other people do view things differently than me. So yeah, that's what I got.
Cultural inertia. It's too difficult to change.
I had this one, regarding when people say they're sober. Uh, I spend a lot of time on Reddit, and sometimes, there's a person and he's got a coin, he's like 2 years sober, and he has a picture of himself. And I always go in and look at the top comment. And the top comment is always like, "Good job, brother. I'm 5 years sober." And the next comment, "Hey, 6 months." And that is this, imagine, Venus Project. "Hey guys, 10 years in." And then Nate, he's like, 5 years, baby, 5 years. And Fabrico, he's like, "For life." But what is it to just mention that you're doing something, that you get stuck in this, just to say, "I'm done this." Like, we're against capitalism 10 years now, but nothing else, just mentioning the name, repeating that verbal thing. And then there was this part. I just love this sentence: "The Bible is loaded with filth. It is anti everything fine." just a beautiful sentence. Uh, in this one with Mark Twain, when he says, "When the rich man gives a nickel or $2 to a poor family, do you guys know why did the angels dance? Why were they so joyful?"
Yeah,
Was it
that's another
because
good example of, as he says, the relativity. And, it's really hard for a rich man to give up a few dollars, but if you're just generous all the time, that's just the way you are. And so it's like relative. It's kind of a bigger deal when the rich man gives up his money.
Now, how would you say it in why are they happy?
Because he went against their expectations.
Yeah, and it is like, the way I imagine it, it is like a real miracle,
Hmm.
because he went against conditioning. He was conditioned not to do that.
Right.
And it was a miracle to see him do something that everything said, "No, you're not supposed to be giving this money away." So to them, it was like, look, a miracle. He gave $2. And all his life, he would not have given a shit. So that is why it's a miracle. And they would bring him in and say, "You went against your conditioning." It's truly a miracle. Uh, uh, and I had this bit also with, when Jock talks about kids. I remember there's a lecture where he's on the radio, and a woman calls in, and she knew him and had met him with his kids. And the way she talked about Jock and his kids, it's a very, let's say, heartwarming thing to listen to. She was like, his children were so different. They knew so many things, and they were so young, and they were talking to you about the movement of the earth plates. What is it called? There's a particular word.
Tectonic plates.
Tectonic plates, yeah, something like that. But to give a contrast to that, I remember there's a lecture, and he says this. He says, "One of my kids died 2 weeks ago," and the way he speaks about that is so different from. It's like, there is no emphasis on it that it was his kid, that it was something different from another child. I don't know if he's acting or it's because it's a lecture, but the way he speaks about that, his kid dying, it is, I can't remember all the details. I've listened to it a couple of times. I can't remember details, but it was so different from hearing other people. 2 weeks ago, one of my kids died. So it's a little bit contrast. The way he brought them up gave them a lot of tools, worked on them. But at the same time, I feel it was like he viewed kids as, I don't uplift this one just because it's my kid, but I try to work on all kids, something like that. But this is difficult to know if it was really like this, because we only have the lectures and some bits of it, and we try to make sense of it.
It's interesting how like people, I mean, like me too, like I like seeing like, you know, kids that have a different way of like speaking about things, and they're more like actually could hold like a, like, you know, a conversation, or share, like, you know, what you mentioned, like his kids were probably, we could say, more, you know, more advanced than the average kids. And it seems because we our society dummies them down. So that's like the proof of like how like, you know, that there's an experiment going on, and to dummy people down and kind of having kids you know, watch cartoons and stuff like that. It's not really teaching them how to solve any problems. And it just seems like when you do see those kids, oh look, it looks like they're a prodigy, or you know, they're like born, you know, like in that way. But actually maybe it should be more surprising, like, damn, we have so many kids just not interested in anything. They're just interested in like whatever candy and toys. But I'm sure like if we make, you know, like solving problems and identifying with one another as like candy and toys, maybe like when they're adults, it could bleed into society. And I don't know, it just seems like it's cool, like how, like, you know, Jacques mentioned like how education would be in the future, where they would get hands-on information, like mostly, instead of like just things that you would just get from a book or a lecture, and just try to sit down and memorize it how it is today.
Yeah. I don't have so much more. Do you guys have anything more on this one? The way we do it?
No, I don't have nothing.
Yeah, we know you don't. He wants to talk about B.F. Skinner.
If it is a classic lecture, I probably listen to it, but I don't figure out which one.
I'm sure you have. Adam, do you have anything more?
I think we talked about it.
Mushroom.
Not so much.
This session was just a real big bash on religion, you know, a big rant, you know, he needed to get it out of his system.
Oh yeah, here's something. So I was talking to Nate and earlier, how like sometimes when we look at religion or any other kind of way of thinking, that's kind of like a kind of almost against our thinking, because we think we're right, and we're saying, well, yeah, you know, those people are fucking full of shit, you know, like they're utter nonsense. I forgot what you mentioned earlier. It was like ridiculous at what they think. But I guess instead of those emotional, like you know, like kind of words, I wonder if we could, like, you know, just be more descriptive. Like even Jacques, you mentioned in there as well, like he mentioned, like I think you're close to when he said it, which was, you know, it's utter, like, you know, it's utterly, like, you know, oh man, I forgot what it was.
Religion is anti-fine, no, or something. Wait.
Yeah. You mentioned that, something similar to it, where it's utterly ridiculous, you know, how they think that way. So to me, that was like, to me at least, it seems like it's a very like emotional kind of word, where if people on your side, they would like applause, and then people on the other side, they're gonna say, you know, no, you're full of shit, kind of this back and forth with shit slinging. And of course, like, you know, it is like a lot of like the things that we were taught, it's all nonsense. And Nate brought up too that there isn't like, what is it called, a ooze, like the pimple,
the pus pocket that
like
God talks about.
that you can't like just ooze that stuff out. It's kind of stuck with us for a while.
Yeah, but this is like this is his sessions, so he speaks like that, but I don't think he would speak like that in a church, because he knows it doesn't work to talk that way to them. But this one, I remember looking. I was trying to find this video. It's this man in India, and he brings water to dogs that are on an island. Okay, and in the beginning, you're like, "That's very nice," okay, because they don't have any water. And then he says, "You know, I'm doing this for my karma." So then, to me, after learning from Jack, that's a business deal. He doesn't give a shit about these animals. He's like, hey God, look, don't forget to notice. You know, I'm doing this. I could be playing with myself, but I'm doing this hard work. So then it becomes this, but he can't see that. It is so. It's a business deal. It's not because he cares. He doesn't give a shit. It's like you're gonna. I'm doing this, so later on I get something. I'm gonna help you move, but you're gonna help me. That's not I'm caring. That's a deal.
Yeah, what is it
So,
called? The quid pro quo, something like that?
Quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo.
yeah, exactly. But you know, I wouldn't have looked at it that way until you know these kinds of sessions with Jock when he gives you the other point of view, and then you're like, okay, I never thought about that.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between, like, let's say like like you're doing only good things so you go to heaven, or because you want, you know, God to be like, you know, oh, you know, I'm doing all these good things, God, you know, you're gonna remember me when I die, right? Um, so instead of like that, it's more like you see the benefits of helping other people because you see them as extension to yourself. So instead of like just you know, doing things because you think you're gonna, if you know, get praise, or you're gonna get some brownie points or something like that from him or this other entity that is all. Hey, by the way, a little side note. Um, you know how like basically like we have all, like, you know, people believe in God, the all-seeing eye or whatever, all-seeing kind of like dude, and it seems like we're creating that through our through Google and you know, Facebook. So we are gonna have that all-seeing eye in no time, and then there'll be some points for us there if we do some nice things, and if we don't, and we would get off. All right, enough of the side point. Back to the back to the thing about you know, like religion. Just do things because you see the benefit of, like, you know, like that you know, like I forgot what you mentioned before. It was like that you see them and like extensionality, but even like deeper than that, you see them as like, or not deeper, but like just to just understand that if they are, you know, more smarter than you, if they get better at whatever they're getting better at, then they'll contribute to your life. That's kind of, I think, what Roxanne Meadows mentioned too. It's like if your kids are smarter, then that makes my life safer and more powerful. So instead of just saying, oh, if I don't do good things, I'm gonna go to hell, or you know, I'm gonna have bad karma. But it just seemed like the karma thing is definitely like a very interesting thing. Just like with religion, it can never be wrong or right. And I think Nate and I, we talked about how in with scientists, we're welcoming to be wrong, and we're welcoming, like, you know, like I know Pajman, you're not like, you know, guys, you guys are listening to me and only me, and I'm the right guy. Only ask me questions and I'll respond to you, and I'm the man. You know, I'm sure you know. Yeah, like, you know, we're just like you mentioned before, which is like you learn this stuff and you're regurgitating it, um, but you see, but you find value in it, and the more experiences that we have, the more we apply it in our lives, the more we'll be able to kind of see the benefits of thinking this way.
Yeah. I think Jock said it that if there is a God and you go there, you will only see atheists because they had no deal. There was no business transaction. So they did things not because they had to, because they wanted to, instead of, you know, the religious person. Hey God, did you see that? Do you see what I did there?
Yeah.
That's what.
Oh, and also too, yeah. What I was gonna say, like with God, like that there is like when somebody dies or something like that, then they cry. Then that's kind of shows that they're full of shit. That they don't trust God, or they don't see that God, you know, he's all seen, or when they pray for, you know,
Yeah.
for their aunt, you know, back or something, hey, you think there's a God, but then again, you pray to him, and you kind of, and also too, you have to, like, this all supreme, all knowing, all powerful guy needs to be praised. He needs to say hallelujah, praise the Lord, and kind of a, thank him for all these different things. Thank you for giving me life. Thank you for creating the trees. Thank you for all this stuff. But I guess the God that is today that people have created is a God like, a God sitting in the throne and with a big cigarette, give me more.
He had this bit about people crying at funerals, and he was saying that uh, if you have seen like a Persian funeral or a Turkish funeral, they're very emotional. Like they're screaming, they're pulling their hair. And he was saying this, he was saying that these people feel less. It looks like they're more emotional, but they're feeling less. Does anybody know if you would see, for example, a person that, two people, two fathers, they lost their son. One is very quiet, and you know that they both had great relationships with their kids. So it's painful for them. But one is quiet, and the other one is pulling their hair, they're screaming, they're beating their chest, they're going crazy. Which one do you think is feeling more?
I think it's the one that actually does something with how the kid dies. Like, let's say if the kid, both of them died from a car accident, one of them works on, let's say, like a proximity sensors
No.
on cars.
Wait, I have to break you. I'm talking about something else. In that situation, which one is more emotionally involved in what they have experienced? The quiet one or the one that is beating their chest, making a lot of noise? Which one is
The quiet
feeling it? Why is the quiet
Because-
one feeling it more?
because the person who's emotional, we could say its behavior is unrelated to the situation, in the sense that how they're behaving by pulling their hair or screaming at other people or in the air, that's not going to bring the child back. But the person who is quiet, they may be trying to digest the fact that they just lost their child, and they're trying to imagine, okay, maybe how am I going to go forward from here? Yes, sure, we had this great relationship, but now they're gone. It's unfortunate that this has happened, but maybe how can I go forward from now and not be so stuck on this? Whereas a person who's screaming, like, they're not really a help to themselves or to other people at that moment, and they may go on to do other things that harm other people or harm their lives.
I was thinking more, that was almost the point I was trying to get. Let's take this example. If I take a knife and stick it in your hand, and you are quiet and you absorb it, do you feel it more or do you feel it less if you're screaming and saying, fuck? Which one feels it more?
Feel pain or feel
Yeah,
I'd say they
feelings?
probably.
Which one
Feeling pain.
feels the pain more?
I don't
The one
know
that
how to measure.
screams or the one that is just looking at the knife going in and just seeing it without making noise? They have the same sensors, but this one is not distracted. He sees
Well,
the
I
knife.
think, yeah, I'm saying the quiet one just because in that example, with the person who's yelling with the knife going through, they're doing something to let out the angst, the anxiety that they have.
Yeah.
So
I don't know,
that way it doesn't
because
get bottled up.
like I was gonna say, like, some kids, I know they're like super sensitive, and sometimes they just say ow ow or something like that, but they're nothing's like really there, or nothing's really hurting them really hard.
I know
So
kids like that.
yes, so kids like that. So in that, maybe the one, I mean, because I don't know which one's right or which one's wrong, but I'm just saying, what if it's the loud one that feels it more emotionally, but physically they're not dealing with it. I don't know. Where are you getting at, Patch Man?
I'm getting at this is that this is an example from Jack. If I take a knife and stick it in your hand, At the same time, I stick a rod full of nails up your ass, do you think you feel the thing going into your hand or the rod that is splitting you open? You feel the hand thing. One of them, the one that is more painful, goes over the other one.
Yeah.
This is examples from, you have heard these examples when somebody loses their arm, but they're caught up in the situation. So they're just, they're running, and later on say, oh my fuck, my arm is gone.
Yeah.
And this is because the brain cannot take in too much at the same time. So one of them overrides the other system. So when a person is screaming, they're overriding the pain that they're feeling. So they feel less of that one. But if you sit and just take it in without distracting yourself, that person is feeling it more because they're not distracted, they're not pulling their hair, because when they pull their hair, they don't feel the other pain. So they're distracting themselves. That's the point I'm trying to make, that the quiet one might seem like they're less emotional, but that's the one that is really taking in their feelings. The other one is distracting themselves, but it seems like they're more emotional, that they're in more pain, but they're distracting themselves. And that's the example with the knife and the rod up your ass. You can't have both at the same time. One overrides it. So the other one, you don't even notice. You say, what happened? You say, just the rod. That's the only thing I remember. And then later on, when they fixed your ass, then you see, oh, my hand as well, please.
Okay. What about, does that depend on context? Because sometimes maybe a person who is like super quiet, maybe they're the one who killed the kid or something like that.
Yeah, but the context is this example that I enjoy, that this helped me to think about it, is that they have, somebody has taken over a place that you were taking care of 1,000 children, and they take you and say, you're the leader? You say, yes. They say, cut off his arm. And then somebody comes and says, no, let's burn all the kids. And you say, no, take my arm. And then a person comes and says, just take his finger. And then you kiss his hand. Because it is nothing compared to the pain you would feel for all those kids that you were taking care of. So you smile when they take your hand off. You're like, oh, thank you. You're a beautiful person. Because it overrides, the circumstances overrides that pain. And you say, take it, it's no problem. I'm smiling. That's what happened with the samurais that used to kill themselves because they felt such disgrace. And they didn't, the way it's described, that they didn't show anything because the other thing was overriding that pain because of disgrace, because that was so much more important.
So would you say that's a saner way of reacting to something, like having something to not necessarily pulling your hair and screaming, but having something to override the pain that you would feel as opposed to being quiet?
No, I think that if you override it, you're distracting yourself. It will remain. The best thing is to try to take it in, and whatever it is to go through the dance of that feeling, so you don't distract yourself, because then it stays there. This happens with my kids a lot, is because, for example, my son is upset, and then my wife overrides that system by distraction. As soon as that distraction is gone, that frustration is still there. So what I do is I get that shit out, and then it doesn't always work. But when it works, is that it has gone. Now the child can continue the day. But if you just distract with candy, it overrides, but the pain remains, just like something in your ass. And then when the distraction is gone, you're like, oh, it's here, it's still here, painful. So I would try to this is now we're in the non-scientific world, but based on the way I observe it is that you take it in. Don't distract yourself because it's going to remain. It doesn't go away. Later on, the more you learn, then you have Jock's way of, hey, my kid died 2 weeks ago. But it takes, if you're not there mentally, then you can be very logical. You can have all the quotes, but it doesn't override the way you have been brought up to feel about something. That you have to take in, whatever it is. I was screaming at my kid yesterday, and I was thinking, I wonder how you guys would view me if you saw me in this situation. You know, here's a 3-year-old, and I'm going totally fucking ape shit because I'm so tired. And here he is, he wants to do something, and it's gonna be a huge mess. Like I was thinking, what would Adam say, watching me right now? And so, you know, that's the reality of, you know, that's the situation. I'm very appropriate in speaking, but it doesn't apply in reality all the time. It's a different person under different circumstances.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I'm very disappointed.
Fuck.
I think you need to stop eating meat for a month, and you need to you know, bow down to the sun every day for the next month.
I will. Looking forward to that.
After your wife gives you 7 lashings of like the hard rod on your back, so your
I get those. I get those every day. Don't worry about it. Those are standard. Regarding BF Skinner, just so Fabricio can join the club, I was doing my homework and listening to a lot of videos, which is it's very enjoyable to listen to. But try to find the ones that came later in his life. I have lost this one. This particular one is where, in the beginning, when he's younger, he's clear about what approach he wants for a better world. And then you find this one later on, which is how he has become like a person that has come against an obstacle which he can't get around. And he feels like he's reverting back in the way he's thinking about. And this reminded me of Meadows' systems thinking, is that they have a way of applying their work, but the world, the rules of the game, makes even these great people to revert back when it comes to, hey, how can we change society? They hit such an obstacle that they can't get out of, because they're trying to change the game within the game instead of saying we have to step over to a new system for that to be applied. I'm going to try to find that one.
There is a novel.
Sorry?
One for Stu or something like that.
One for Stu?
A novel.
I don't understand.
He write a novel.
Oh, that book. I think Nate has read that. His book about the future.
I don't know. It's a novel, right?
Yeah, Nate, what's it called?
Walden too.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that was in his let's say younger days, like when he was 50. But in this particular lecture, when you listen to that one, look at a person that doesn't know how that world that he imagines can come about, because the world have given him so many obstacles that even though he views it as learned, that it is the way of in the environment that shapes that behavior, he doesn't say, hey, He does in that book. He tries to give an example, but in reality, he says there is a problem. I don't know. I'm becoming pessimistic. That is the word he's using.
Yeah, but no, I was just gonna say. I was just gonna say like I think Jacques mentioned like when we're going through like school, like when we're younger days, it's like, oh yeah, we care about the earth, we care about one another. You're going to school, and then after school, then you get that really good job or something like that, or you get in the job world, and then you stop thinking that way. You're like, oh, and you say, hey, what happened to you? I thought you were interested in like helping out the planet and stuff like that. Well, those were my younger days. That's what is common. You guys, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say that Skinner himself has said, and I don't know if this is the lecture that you're referencing, Pedro, but he has said that even though he wrote Walden 2, he wouldn't want to be in that society. But he knows that if he were to be brought up in that society, then he would uphold that and he would continue that way of thinking. So it even shows his limitation there as well, that he would have trouble adjusting to that kind of society if it were to have happened then in his lifetime. So
that is why Jacques used to say that people from the past will never be come to life again, when they ask him about cryogenics. Yes, it's too difficult.
He used to say that about himself as well. Is that like, if you would bring me into the future, I would ask them to put me in it's like what you do with criminals. You put them in, there is a way, this is the step until you get into society. So you give them a few steps. You don't just put them into society, say here, and there's somebody that is coming to visit you and check everything is okay. Oh, I forgot the word for it. Or you have, what do you want to say, Nate?
After house, right?
Yes, exactly. Was it after house? After house?
Halfway house.
Exactly. Halfway house is the correct word. And that is, if you bring us into the future, you have to put us there because it is too divergent. Even though we can think, we have not been brought up to be in that kind of world. But I don't think the future comes that fast. It's a stepping stone. Only if you cling to the past, you will be confused. For us, the more you are able to, hey, you go into McDonald's and, oh, there is no more cashier here. There's a machine here. Immediately, you just step forward and say, okay, this is the way it's doing now. Okay, I mean, here's the money. And then, okay, where do I go? Oh, there's the number. No more cashier. Oh, no more job. Okay. No more food. Okay, I'm going to try to solve this problem. But if you stick to, it was better. The first time we say it's really mean it and say it was better in the past, then you're lost because that world is over. Now you have to say, what can we do now?
Even if you bring in some person from the 80s, it would be a completely new world from him or her, You have to download the app, you make it through the internet,
Yeah. But that's the technical. That is the technical aspect. But the thing is that if they get into law, they say, hey, it's the same shit. Oh, if you get into politics, then you're really into the same shit. So
yes.
Our society has so many bits that are still the same as the past. But the future that we speak about that's the world that would be, okay, see you guys. See you on Monday.
Bye.
Read the chapter.
Yeah,
So
please.
The future
Make
that
your work.
Yeah, exactly. We will. But the future we speak about, that would be a confusing for those people because the decision making is so different.
Yes. And those that make that business of cryogenic, they think that in 2,000 years you will have United States, Argentina, Swiss, They are in the cultural lag,
Yeah. like yeah, it wouldn't be much to have a person that you have to re-educate
From zero.
from zero, from
another,
confusion.
another language, you know.
Exactly. I don't. And what can they bring to the table?
Mhm.
There is nothing of value. So they would
Yes.
say, "Oh, we need these people." There is no value, and especially in the future, there's no value in bringing us into it. Oh, we need your perspective. No, you really don't. All right, so we killed this one.
And
Adam,
that is the first chapter of the book is about cultural lag
it is
from
okay.
from the technological point of view and the encapsulation, and in try to avoid the study of human beings with the scientific method,
Mm.
putting them through,
Mm.
Well, I don't come the Monday. I give my
No.
final.
You'll be
My
quiet.
final.
It's on Monday.
Okay.
All right, Adam, do you have anything?
A lot of
No,
moisture.
I'm good.
Where are you now?
Yes, it's finding mushroom.
Yeah, I'm out in the woods.
Show us those weed plants you're hiding.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
See you on Monday, guys.
Okay. Bye
All
bye.
right.
Bye.